the evidence that they cite is so weak and is so poor, and they know it, and they cite it and tell you that. Which brings me to a debate that you did specifically. We did an episode with Aranda Wickramasinghe, who lives in the UK, who attended the conference that you were at, where we actually, I will say, ubiquitously across the board in the carnivore world, this is the debate that we wanted to see. I heard it was really kind. Nobody fought. It wasn't, rotten tomatoes at each other. It was a really cool debate, and you were a part of it. I know you had to attend virtually; you couldn't make it there in person, kind of a last minute thing. But I would love to hear your experience. What was that like, and what were the arguments for a plant-based diet, and were they convincing at all?
Oh no, I thought it was very good. I mean, I think you're exactly right. I mean, we should be able to speak, cordially to each other. That's not what a lot of these end up being, which is why there's sort of no point in having them. Because it's just a waste of time, it's just people are being just rude and childish, and it's just like, well, why are we even doing this? Like, I have no interest in talking to someone if they're being childish about these things. And so this was nice. These people had, mixed opinions, and it was myself and Sean Baker leading up, team meat, and other people that were sort of in the spectrum of eating more plants to full on vegan vegetarian. Um, but everyone was very good. We were able to go back and forth, give our spiel, make our case, and then sort of discuss the finer points of different things. It was a Dr. Chitty who made up the main sort of vegan side of things. There's another gentleman who was, I forget his name, but he was a really interesting guy, actually. I thought he had a lot of good points, but he wasn't like 100% vegan. He was just saying there's probably benefits to eating plants. He's like, hey, there's good things here. Let's not just throw the baby out with the bathwater. And I a lot of time for that sort of discussion. That's totally fair. Um, Chitty, made some good points as well. I mean, he works in sort of a metabolic health practice and helps people, and is getting people, improving their health in a number of ways. But I didn't find his arguments too compelling. One of his main pieces of evidence was talking about the China study, which I don't think is very compelling, and has a
Terrible.
lot of in it. And there are other people that have read the whole series of studies and China studies and things like that, and actually sort of broken down the data and looked at it and actually found that they're actually hiding things, and omitting major factors that really changed the story. And so, people can look that up. It's sort of too long to get into, but and I wouldn't do it justice. But that was it's like when someone comes and says, well, I mean, the blue zones, so therefore plant-based. It was sort of that sort of thing, and it's just like, well, there are major problems with the blue zones. I just did a podcast with Bill Schindler, and he was in the blue zones, and he was studying these people, and how they ate and how they lived, and they were nothing close to plant-based. They were nearly entire, well, they were definitely meat-based, whole animal-based, and he said that they were eating more meat than he did at home. And he's always been big into meat. And then after a week there, they said, hey, we're gonna have meat tomorrow. And he was just like, what do you mean we're gonna have meat tomorrow? We've been eating more meat than I eat at home. Like, what are you talking about? What they mean by that is they mean they're gonna put a whole animal on a spit, and spend the whole day barbecuing and hanging out as a community.
Wow.
Right. So that's what they mean. So when the blue zones say, well, in Sardinia they only eat meat once a week, they know damn well that they're being misleading. That's a difference in language. It's semantics. They say we only eat meat once a week. Well, they're saying you only eat meat once a week. Yeah. We only eat meat once a week. That's what they call that, right? So it's a confusion in the language, and it's a purposeful. It's purposefully done by the people doing the blue zones, because they know damn well that that's not the case, that's not what they mean by that they predominantly eat meat, and once a week they eat a lot of meat, right? And these people are extremely healthy, and there are a lot of other factors in that. A lot of other factors, have a strong, tight-knit community. People keep working. They have a goal. They have a purpose in life. to keep them going. They're walking up and down a bunch of hills, going to their pastures, going to their herds, going to their animals to tend them every single day, and playing with their grandkids and their great grandkids, and telling stories, and doing different activities, and staying active and being busy, and enjoying their life. A lot of beneficial things. But being plant-based is not one of them, right?
That's right.
So that was a major argument, was the China study sort of thing, and going to Loma Linda and seeing these people that were 100 and very healthy, and it's just like, well, that's great, but there's a lot of issues with the Loma Linda um, crowd as well, and the Adventist studies are pretty biased, very
Yeah.
biased as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything that I saw any new arguments that I was just like, oh, okay, well that's interesting. I'll have to look into that, and maybe that sort of shakes things around. It was just sort of things I'd seen before, and I was like, no, we have answers for these.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard from Aranda, and I would have expected this to begin with, that on the carnivore side, the arguments were very careful and logical and had proof and backing behind them. And the arguments for plant based was more emotional. And this really helped my daughter heal this one
Mhm.
thing, and that's great, and I'm so grateful for this, and that's fine, but it's different than facts. It's ironic too, because just this week we got a comment on a video that you and I did together, where the person making the comment said, well, isn't it funny that every study says that eating more plants makes you live longer? And I'm like, I responded, I said, that's cool, like, send me your favorite one. I'm actually talking to Dr. Anthony Chaffee this week, so I'll just bring it up with him. Like, just send me
Mhm.
whatever your favorite one is. If all studies say it, it should be very easy to just come up with, the best one that you
Mhm.
like. And crickets, like, I didn't get any. I don't have any to discuss with you today, because there was absolutely nothing. And I told him the same thing. Like, if you're basing your, knowledge of longevity on this new Netflix documentary called Live to 100, that's all about the blue zones and Dan Buettner and all of this stuff that's already owned by the Seventh-day Adventists. If you're
Mhm.
basing your knowledge on that, there's a lot of gaps, and we're doing a very specific episode on that coming out soon, because it's trending on Netflix. It's a top 10 show on Netflix that's highlighting the benefits of the blue zones, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Because Dan Buettner pushed a plant-based agenda, and so and I was actually on the comment thread on the Bill Schindler blue zone thing that I just put out. There was a lady from Okinawa who just said, hey, this is blue zones are crap. I live in Okinawa. I grew up in Okinawa. My grandparents are 100, and they're very healthy. They mostly eat meat. They eat like 80% meat, 90% meat, and a lot of beef, a lot of pork, and chicken and fish. And yes, they eat plants, but they don't eat much. It's the majority of what they eat is meat, and the majority of what I eat is meat, and what my family eats are meat, and what all the traditionally long living and the traditional diet of the Okinawans is a lot of meat. It's very meat heavy. So this is not true. And I know this. I grew up with this, and a lot of people were very interested in asking different questions, and then you had the sort of the obligatory vegan trolls that try to ignore everything she said and just say, oh yeah, but that's not carnivore, that's not 100% carnivore, so I mean, what the hell is this all about? Like, no one's saying it is, no one's saying it has to be. The point is that it's not plant-based. And so saying that the blue zones are so great because plant-based, like that's not true. And so it's just showing the actual facts of the matter, and also showing that no, like, eating more meat doesn't make you die young, right? That these people are predominantly eating meat, and if we're very convinced by their longevity and we're impressed by that, well, and we're going to look at their diet, as something that we should model. Well, it's meat based. It's mostly meat, and the definition of a hyper carnivore is someone who gets over 70% of their calories from meat, so they're hyper carnivore, right? And so that's actually you know, pretty telling. But they wanted to ignore all that sort of stuff. But that's the thing, is that the blue zones were completely misleading. And one thing that they did, the blue zone that they didn't mention, Hong Kong, that has the highest life expectancy on Earth, eats more meat per capita than any other modern population.
That's right.
And the the Adventists, Now they say, well, they have a lot of centenarians as well, and they're all plant-based. I know a lot of Seventh-day Adventists, and they say, no, that's not true. That's certainly what is pitched, and what you're supposed to eat is a lot of plant-based. But he said it was probably about 5% of people actually adhere to that. Everyone else just eats normally, you know.
Yep.
But what they do also, encourage and impress upon their members is live a clean life. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do drugs, don't have caffeine, don't have nicotine. Have get married, have kids, don't have this sort of thrill-seeking life. And so that's again a healthy user bias as a population. And another population that they fail to recognize as a blue zone are the American Mormons, who sort of adhere to similar restrictions as far as lifestyle is concerned, but don't have the nutritional restrictions that not even a lot of Seventh-day Adventists even adhere to. And they have the exact same life expectancy as the Adventists. It's exactly the same as, well,
Yep.
last time I checked it was, but it's, if it's not the same, it's very close. And so, they omit these sorts of things. And then what Dan Buettner did was he actually sold the rights to calling things blue zones to the Seventh-day Adventists for
That's
tens
right.
of millions of dollars. And now you have areas applying to be a blue zone, saying, hey, look, we have all these centenarians, we have all these people that are living a long time, we want to be a blue zone. And they have to apply to the Seventh-day Adventist Church and pay them a bunch of money. And then they decide, no, we don't like the look of that. You don't get the stamp. Right. So this is a political thing now. This is like, you get stamped as a blue zone. It's only the people that they want. They can maybe, I don't know, but they could easily manipulate that. It's like, no, like, this is a cattle country. We all just eat like, a bunch of meat and steaks, and everyone's living to be 110. Like, absolutely not. No, we're not giving you a blue zone. But maybe they'll be honest about it. But I have, no impression that they will, based on previous behavior that they've done.